Juries don't like liars. Trials are about credibility.
Blake Lively was exposed for bribing the media and even attempting to influence court judges in a shocking scandal.
So I did. It's for sale in my Etsy store. I'll leave a link below if you're interested in the 1,000,000% t-shirt.
Blake Lively went as far as pressuring the legal system to hide damning evidence, all to maintain her fake victim narrative.
If they find that she just was dishonest and lied on one single point of evidence in this case, in her testimony, the jury instruction says that they are allowed to discount her entire testimony.
Now that the truth is out, Blake Lively's downfall is inevitable. Once known for stiff performances and the disastrous rhythm section, her career has sunk even lower. Just when it seemed she'd hit rock bottom, she managed to dig an even deeper hole in Hollywood.
It seems insurmountable. It seems like this case cannot be settled.
This isn't just about bad acting. Blake Lively is caught in full-blown corruption and bribery. Celebs usually slip away unscathed, but she fumbled so badly that even the judge called out her nonsense in court. This time, there's no escaping the inevitable downfall.
Her testimony won't even count. And that is that's a harsh reality, because if the jury chooses not to listen to anything she has to say, she's the best witness in this case.
Blake Lively's lawsuit against Justin Baldoni was already a joke, but now it's downright scandalous. Allegations reveal she and her team attempted to bribe the judge to bury damning evidence. When you hear how desperate she got, you'll wonder if she'll ever show her face in public again.
So her testimony is super important in this case, and if you can show the jury that she's lied, juries don't like liars. Trials are about credibility.
Judge Lyman, clearly fed up, called the case a PR war rather than a real lawsuit, legal talk for pure Hollywood nonsense. Imagine being so shamelessly manipulative that a judge publicly exposes your circus. This isn't justice, it's a spectacle, and Blake Lively is at the center of it.
Trials are about the truth, and juries want the truth, and if you lie to them, they will hold it against you.
Let's rewind to how this all started. When Blake Lively first sued Justin Baldoni, she played the innocent victim, like a scene from a Nicholas Sparks movie. She swore she had proof, had receipts, and painted Baldoni as the ultimate villain. But reality is proving otherwise.
And that's why you think, like you mentioned before, that you think this video is the most damning evidence that Baldoni has so far.
I think so. And it's better than worse.
Plot twist: Blake Lively got exposed as a liar. So what does she do? She rewrites history like a student scrambling to finish a last-minute essay. She tweaks details, adds fluff, and suddenly, we have a brand new lawsuit, one that reads more like a badly written script than a legal document.
Number two, the SH has nothing to do with taking over the movie, even though she doesn't deny that she took over the movie. Of course, it'd be probably impossible to do that.
Blake Lively's amended complaint is a staggering 180 pages, let that sink in. Most lawsuits of this type are 20 to 25 pages, but her team turned it into a novel. With no real evidence, they buried the case under paperwork, hoping no one would notice. This wasn't a lawsuit, it was a PR stunt on steroids. Read through it, and you'll find mostly media manipulation disguised as legal claims.
Okay, so I was able to read the amended complaint, which, by the way, it's very abnormal. It's almost 180 pages, 400 and some odd paragraphs. Complaints are not normally that long. But this one has to be for public consumption.
Blake Lively's goal was pure manipulation, flood the public with sensational nonsense, hoping headlines would ruin Justin Baldoni before the truth caught up. But surprise, it caught up fast. Her so-called key evidence? A video of a dance scene she dramatically claimed was horrifying, disturbing, and undeniable proof of her accusations.
So it kind of makes them look like they're trying to take that video, now that it's out, and kind of spin it in a different direction.
She wanted everyone to believe she was in distress, forced into something awful. But then the full unedited video leaked, showing her smiling, participating, and completely at ease.
Blake Lively had changed some stuff up in her amended complaint. Now she is describing that dancing scene very differently than she did in her first complaint.
Legal experts quickly tore her claims apart, exposing her strategy. As it crumbled before her eyes, her PR team likely panicked. This was the moment when true desperation set in.
Blake Lively made, and she lied in their minds about what occurred during that dancing scene because she wasn't aware that there was audio would maybe explain and give some context to what was happening there. So of course she changes her in her amended complaint. She changes the view of it a little bit.
She changed her story yet again, because one version wasn't enough. First, she claimed she was forced into an uncomfortable scene. But when the video proved otherwise, she switched tactics, insisting Baldoni wasn't in character and that she was being forced to act like she liked him.
Really what they did is they said, well, yes, all of that happened, but when Baldoni was in that scene dancing, he wasn't in character. And she was being forced to act as though she loved him, which is, in my mind, just acting.
Let's take a moment to appreciate how ridiculous this sounds, filing a lawsuit because you had to act in a movie. That's literally the job. What's next? Actors suing directors because they didn't like their co-stars? I had to pretend I loved him, it's a crime. No, girl, that's your paycheck.
And so rather than saying that these horrible things happened, now they're saying, well, no, yeah, but she didn't want that. And he wasn't really in character, and it wasn't within the context of what it should have been. So they're trying to skew it kind of a different way.
At this point, even legal analysts had enough. You know a lawsuit is bad when lawyers struggle not to laugh discussing it. One expert noted that lying in court is serious. Judges can instruct the jury to disregard an entire testimony. Meaning, just one lie, and everything else she says can be thrown out. That's the level of disaster Blake Lively's case has reached.
Number 4, the smear campaign designed by Baldoni's team was intended to derail the SH claims that Lively brought later in time, which seems a little odd to me.
Blake Lively, she didn't just tell one lie, she built an entire fake lawsuit out of them. If this goes to trial, she's toast.
Her bad press came in early August, and yet the complaint to the CRD didn't happen till December 20th.
And it gets even worse. Instead of admitting defeat like a normal person, Blake took it a step further. When you have no case, no credibility, and no dignity left, the next best move? Try to bribe the court.
That's Blake Lively's PR firm begging to be let go of the case. I think actually they may have the worst messages of all.
Blake Lively's legal team suddenly pushed for something called an attorney's eyes only, AEO, protection order. For those unfamiliar with legal jargon, this means that certain key documents and messages would only be accessible to the lawyers, not even Blake or Baldoni themselves. Let's be real, there's only one reason to request this: to hide something explosive. But it gets even sketchier. A source close to the case dropped a bombshell, claiming there were 100 million reasons why Lively's team was desperate to keep this information hidden. That's a lot of money and a very suspicious choice of words, because 100 million reasons asterisk sounds an awful lot like a bribe. To his credit, Judge Lyman wasn't buying it. He shut it down, reminding them that courts serve the public and that exposing the truth is in the public interest. In other words, no rich actress was going to rewrite the law to hide her secrets.
If they find that she just was dishonest and lied on one single point of evidence in this case, in her testimony, the jury instruction says that they are allowed to discount her entire testimony.
Let's talk about the irony here. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds were the ones who started this media circus, working with the New York Times to paint themselves as victims. But the moment things started turning against them, suddenly they wanted privacy. Suddenly they wanted special treatment in court, because of their celebrity status. Lively's team even argued in court that, due to their high-profile status, revealing certain documents could cause irreparable harm. Girl, what? The only irreparable harm here is to her reputation. Then there's lawyer Brian Freeman, who wasn't having any of it. He clapped back, making it clear, just because they're celebrities doesn't mean they get a different set of laws. Translation: Blake Lively, sit down. This is a courtroom, not Hollywood. You don't get to buy a happy ending. Her case is crumbling, her credibility is gone, and now she's trying to manipulate the court system itself to avoid further humiliation. But it's too late. The truth is out, the judge sees through her act, and no amount of bribes, fake lawsuits, or PR cover-ups can save her now. She's already lost.
Because jurors are very bright, especially collectively. When they're all together, they all come from varied backgrounds. They're the smartest people in the room collectively, and they generally get the right result.
Blake Lively's meltdown in this lawsuit has hit shocking new levels of desperation. First, she got caught lying. Then, she tried rewriting reality with a 180-page fan fiction disguised as a legal document. And now? She's literally attempting to bribe the legal system to cover her tracks. When you're losing this badly, the last resort is throwing money at the problem and hoping it disappears, and that's exactly what she tried.
Yeah, and you better hope that these HR complaints are genuine and credible. There's some credibility to them, because if we do learn that these were brought about by Blake Lively and her team, it's just going to compound already all the other bad facts that they're dealing with.
Blake Lively's team pushed for an attorney's eyes only, AEO, protection order, and for those who don't spend their free time analyzing legal loopholes, here's what that means. Only the attorneys, not even Blake or Baldoni themselves, would be allowed to see key documents and messages. Why? Because Blake is clearly hiding something so explosive, so incriminating, that she's desperate to make sure no one ever sees it. Judge Lyman, who at this point is probably regretting his entire legal career, saw right through the act. He basically shut it down, reminding everyone that courts serve the public interest. Translation? You don't get to erase your mistakes just because you're rich and famous, Blake, but it gets even better. Lively's lawyers, grasping at straws, argued that revealing certain texts would cause irreparable harm to who? Blake? Ryan Reynolds? The entire feminist propaganda machine that propped her up? And if these messages are that damaging, why would a judge ever allow them to be hidden?
I think they probably won't listen to any experts or advisors or lawyers at this point. It doesn't sound like this because they make so many mistakes and bad decisions.
Let's not pretend we don't see what's happening here. Legal expert Brian Freeman absolutely tore apart Lively's team, making it clear there isn't a different set of laws for celebrities. But Blake and her team sure think there should be. Hollywood elites live in a bubble where they get special treatment, the press protects them, PR teams rewrite history, and money buys them out of trouble. So now, when a judge tells them no, you don't make the rules, they're losing their minds.
And it's only to try to take back the narrative that Baldoni's team has done a very good job of it. And perhaps the reason they've done such a good job on the Baldoni's team is because they have more truth on their side than perhaps Blake Lively does.
Here's where the bribery angle starts looking very real. A source close to the case dropped a bombshell. There's a reason Lively's team is so desperate to hide these messages. $100 million. That's not some vague exaggeration, it's a specific amount tied to this shady attempt to suppress evidence. What does that tell us? It suggests Blake's team isn't just using legal loopholes, they might actually be reaching for their wallets, trying to make this entire problem disappear.
Or you could get into it and just get completely obliterated, because lawsuits are not pleasant. But it sounds like you have grounds to file a lawsuit.
If true, this isn't just Hollywood drama, it's full-blown judicial corruption. We're talking about paying for legal protection, paying to keep damning evidence secret. Blake Lively isn't just a bad actress, she's a terrible criminal mastermind. And let's be real, what's in those messages that's so damaging? If they proved she was a victim, wouldn't she want them public? She wouldn't be begging the judge to bury them or hiding behind legal technicalities. The desperation speaks for itself.
It really is an impactful and powerful piece of evidence that's going to go against Lively, and that's why her deposition is not going to be pretty.
Clearly, Blake Lively has more to lose than she's admitting. But just when her PR disaster seemed maxed out, her team pulled another wild stunt. Enter asterisk the Hollywood Reporters leaked secret witnesses, 2 unnamed actresses supposedly ready to testify against Baldoni. Sounds dramatic, right? Except they didn't even include their names in the lawsuit.
There were 2 new women who were willing to testify against Baldoni that they have been allegedly felt uncomfortable on set, but they didn't name them. But now it's already kind of leaked who they are.
Imagine having key witnesses who are supposedly so crucial, yet they aren't even officially part of the case. Legal analysts quickly called this out as suspicious. If these witnesses were legitimate, why keep them anonymous? Something doesn't add up.
And so it's not just a lawsuit, it's a PR campaign. The fact that they didn't include the names, in my mind when I was reading it, made it felt like it wasn't real or it wasn't very credible.
Here's what's really happening. Blake Lively's PR team strategically leaked these witnesses to sway public opinion. They're trying to manipulate the media, hoping public outrage will do the damage her lawsuit clearly can't. A Hollywood insider even revealed that multiple media outlets refused to publish certain HR complaints against Baldoni because they seemed completely fabricated and unverifiable. In other words, even the mainstream press, who usually jump at any story painting a male celebrity as a villain, couldn't take this seriously.
Leaked HR complaints that was circulated around last week, and a lot of people commented on them. They were not picked up by the press because they looked quite suspicious.
When The Hollywood Reporter, the very publication pushing Lively's agenda, has to * leak its own evidence just to get attention, you know the case is on life support. Blake's team is desperately throwing garbage at the wall, but nothing is sticking. Every move they make only makes them look worse. But hold on, you thought this couldn't get any dumber? Think again. Blake's PR team has officially run out of real accusations, so what do? They accuse Justin Baldoni of toxic positivity.
This is insane. What are you talking about? She genuinely is not aware of how insane she sounds.
I swear I'm not making this up. This isn't satire. This isn't The Onion. This is an actual legal argument. The LA Times ran a hit piece where ex-employees claimed Baldoni was too nice. Seriously. One even complained it felt performative and phony. Apparently, being kind at work is now a crime. Another complaint? He asked employees to sign emails with so much love. And he filmed himself giving clothes to the homeless. Welcome to Hollywood's most desperate PR campaign in history.
Right now, both sides are under strict orders to kill each other, and that's what's happening. Both sides are trying to kill each other, and right now Baldoni's team is winning hands down. Public opinion is completely behind him.
Candace Owens roasted this disaster, saying, "Imagine a world where you can sue someone for being too happy at work. Imagine having your career ruined because someone found you too cheerful in the office." Lively's case isn't just falling apart, it's imploding. This isn't a scandal anymore. It's pure parody.
While Team Blake Lively may think they have the upper hand, sources say she has no idea what's coming regarding her battle with Justin Baldoni.
They started by trying to paint Baldoni as a predator. That failed. Then they claimed he was too powerful. That failed. Then they said he was too happy. That failed even harder. At this point, Blake Lively has nothing left. Her bribery attempt backfired, her fake witnesses are a joke, and her desperate smear campaign has made her a laughingstock. Subscribe now for the full breakdown of this Hollywood disaster.